Are you a physical therapist or healthcare provider who is weighing the options of the different delivery methods and location options for your own practice? And if you are considering telehealth, this video is for you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Morgan and I'm a physical therapist and I help other PTs, OTs, speech therapists, and other healthcare providers just like you, just like me, learn how to start and grow their own cash-based solo practices so that they can live the lives that they want and treat the way that they want to. For more information about that, you can visit my website, morganmeese.com, and check out our DPT to CEO program. And there are links down below as well. In today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about telehealth because even though I think, the initial gigantic wave of telehealth during and just after the pandemic the wave has slowed down. Since then, telehealth has become so much more of an option for so many people. It's something that I myself as a patient, I love when I get to work with providers online and I don't have to go to an office. It makes it so much more convenient and easier for me to get care. And so us as PTs and other healthcare providers, we can definitely incorporate telehealth if it makes sense to you, if it makes sense to your audience. If you are interested in this, I put together just like some information on things to know before you dive in and things to keep in mind in order to be successful with telehealth in your practice. So my experience with telehealth, besides like as a patient, as a provider, when I started my practice in 2019, I was working with clients out of a gym. And about 6 months after starting was when the pandemic happened. So for approximately the next 6, 7, 8 months or so, I was solely seeing people online. I was working with athletes online and we were doing telehealth visits. And I was also providing exercise programming through TrueCoach, which is an app that I highly recommend for home exercise programs and for any kind of programming that you're doing for your clients, if you're offering exercises. But I was incorporating these like video visits as well as the home exercise program in order to help them with their plan of care and with finding a solution to their problem, getting rid of their pain, and working out without any issues. And so I did that for a while. I worked with probably at least a dozen patients, probably more than that online. And since then, I have continued to see people online when it is needed, if they aren't able to see me in person, or if it's their preference, or if it makes sense. Having telehealth in my back pocket has definitely been helpful. So that's been my experience so far. And I know that there are tons of people out there who have 100% telehealth practices. So for you, it is possible. And these are some of the things to keep in mind. So the first thing that I would highly recommend for any kind of online business is you have to know what problem you are wanting to solve and who you are wanting to work with, and making sure that you're able to deliver results in an online format. For me, using the example of I was working with CrossFit athletes and helping them return to working out daily without any joint or muscle pain and being able to lift barbells without any issue. That's a very specific group of people, specific problem. And another thing that I've done in the past too is also still working with CrossFit athletes. I have particularly worked with women on urinary incontinence issues online, and it has been effective. We could make a whole other video on just pelvic health stuff, being that it's a lot of the treatment was based on education, behavior modification, breathing, and exercises. A lot of that can be instructed online. Videos can be provided, instructions can be provided for the exercises, and it worked really well. So for you, make sure that you know that stuff, like you know who you're trying to work with and what kind of problem you're trying to solve, and make sure that it is doable online. A lot of things are. So just make sure that you figure that out for yourself. And something I recommend doing even before you like launch a full like telehealth practice is to practice to practice working with somebody online in a telehealth format so that you sort of get a feel for it and make sure that it works out okay and that you like it. That can be a great place to start. The second thing to do is to figure out what your services are going to look like. So what are you offering? How does it work? What's the pricing look like? Which we're going to do another video on. And how does somebody get started with you? So all of that stuff needs to be very clear, and just like there needs to be a very clear cut process for how people get started for you, what working with you looks like, so that it's easy to understand. And the easier that something is to understand, the more likely somebody is to say yes and starting to work with you. And so as far as like what you're offering in this video, like we're talking about telehealth. So most likely you're going to be doing video call sessions with somebody, figuring out if the way that you work with people is only going to be video sessions, which is totally fine. Or like in the previous example that I mentioned, a lot of my work will be video sessions, and then there are instructions for a program for the client to do on their own at home. And then I don't meet with the client multiple times a week or even necessarily every week. I might meet with them every 2 to 4 weeks in order to discuss what's going on. And in the meantime, we'll have asynchronous communication through messaging, through commenting on the exercises to make sure that they are still working through the program. So figure out how your telehealth is going to work so that it's clear and easy to understand. You will need a video conferencing platform. We're also going to do another video on that in order to have video calls with your clients. Some documentation softwares like PracticeQ has telehealth built in. So like it'll have like a video conferencing software built into the scheduling tool, and it'll have an easy to click link. I use Google Meet typically. I know my therapist uses Doxy, and I'll show you guys that on another video. But figure out what video conferencing platform you're going to use. Make sure that it's easy to use, that you know how to use it, and then that way you'll be able to explain it to your patient. Here is a really big tip. If you take nothing else away from this video, please remember this and internalize it for forever. If you want to succeed with an online business, you are going to have to develop an online presence. You are just some person on the internet. And I know one of my clients, we talk about this all the time as he is building his business. You're just some guy on the internet. And there's so many guys on the internet. Like there's so many people on the internet. And in order for people to work with you, they have to trust you. In order for them to trust you, you have to have some kind of relationship with them. And in order to develop a relationship with them, you have to give them a reason to look into working with you. And so like I think a big part of that is creating content and creating helpful information that you can put out to your audience, which will also help to give you credibility. And as you gain more credibility and you are bringing more traffic to your different online platforms and people are starting to get to know you and understand how you work with people, you'll start to develop a relationship with them. You can engage with your audience, you'll build trust, and then people will feel comfortable enough with you and confident enough in you and trust you enough to spend their money with you. So if you want to have an online business, but you aren't willing to put in the effort to build up a presence online, the online business is not going to work. It takes a lot of effort to put yourself out there and to market yourself and put content together, put ads together, do outreach online. It takes a lot of effort, but you are just some little tiny guy, just a little guy on the internet when you are first getting started, and you have to figure out a way to stand out and put yourself out there so that people can get to know you, like you, and trust you so that they will pay you. And the earlier that you just like settle into that and internalize that, the quicker you are going to become successful. And when it comes to marketing, here's the thing to remember, like quick tidbit if you are brand new to marketing, is you essentially have two different choices online. You can do either organic or paid marketing. Organic is typically things like social media, your website and SEO, making content. So things that you are putting out there that you are not like directly like paying for to put out there on the internet content versus paid marketing is typically like paid advertising where you are paying for ads on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Google in order to put your business in front of more eyeballs and in front of more people. So you can do or the organic, which is usually more time intensive, but low cost to zero money, or you can do paid advertising, which takes a little bit of time up front to set up, but then once you set it up and get it going, it doesn't take very much time, but it does take money. And that's just always going to be a balance with you and your business is do you want to invest more of your time to do something or do you want to invest money to do something? You're not ever going to be in a place where you can not spend time and not spend money in order to reach a goal. You're just not going to reach the goal. So that's another thing to internalize as well. I think that the best marketing strategy is going to be a mix of both organic and paid strategies. For people who are brand new to this, I usually recommend starting with organic because newbies usually don't have the budget that they need to jump into paid advertising and also might not have a clear enough message, a clear enough niche, a clear enough target audience, or a clear enough offer where paid advertising makes sense. In order to do paid advertising, you need to have a clear idea of who the audience is, what's the niche, what is the problem you're solving, what is the solution you have to offer. So what is the service, what's your offer, how does it work, what does it look like, what is the price? All of that needs to be super clear. And then you also need to have an idea of what your budget can be for your advertising. And something that I think is super important before you even get into the ads, especially if you have a limited budget, is you need to have proof of concept that there are people out there willing to buy what it is that you want to offer. And so for services, so say like it is like physical therapy services, if you want to run ads for your physical therapy services, you had better have sold physical therapy services before. I think it is a big leap if you have never sold your services before to just start your practice with paid advertising because you need to have proof of concept that what it is that you are offering, people are willing to pay for. Otherwise, you're just putting money into the ads and might not ever get it back. So we can get into that on a whole other video, like learning how to do paid advertising. But just a disclaimer that I really want to put out there. And that's why I usually recommend people at least start with some organic stuff so that you can kind of get your feet wet and put your name out there. Again, showing credibility and that you know what you're talking about so that as you're having conversations with people and they're looking you up online, you also look like you know what you're talking about. And that will also make the sales easier. So organic or paid with marketing online for your telehealth practice. Best to do a little bit of both. Probably start organic and get into paid once you have made sales. And last thing, when it comes to starting and growing a telehealth practice, you just need to remember that it is going to be a lot of work upfront. It's a lot of work always. There's always stuff to do on your business, but it is going to be quite a bit to set up because you are going to need to set up a website, video conferencing platform, your social media presence, any like back end stuff for the business. There's going to be a lot to do. But as you are getting into business with yourself or for yourself, you will have all the flexibility that you need to make things work the way that is going to work best for you. And that's one of like the biggest positives of having a telehealth practice, I think, is that as long as you have access to a computer and the internet, you always have access to working on your business and continuing to grow it, versus like if you were in a physical location, you might be limited by just you're not always at that location. And over time, the more consistent that you are with the different ways that you are working on building and growing the practice, the better results you're going to see. So keep that in mind. Settle in. This is for the long haul. Whether you end up going with a telehealth practice or picking a different location, it's going to be a while, but you will see results over time if you are really consistent. So I hope that that all helps. If you do want help starting your practice, whether it's telehealth or a different location, I've worked in a little bit of all of them, doing telehealth, gym-based, home-based, mobile. So I'm happy to help. I've worked with a lot of different therapists in different locations, both like delivery method and across the country. So if you would like help, if you would like some structure and a plan on how to start and grow your practice, please book a call with me. You can find that at my website, morganmeese.com/book a call. We can book a free consult call and talk about what it is that you want to do and whether you want my help through my coaching program, or maybe if you would be a better fit for another person that I know who can help you. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. So I will plan to see you on the next video.